Good morning, church. So today we're gonna do things just a little bit differently. I still have my hat on. Um, so we just with a busy kind of time during Christmas and everything. I gave Ben and Kate and Janet the week off, and I'd actually intended to kind of give myself the week off as well, but I was instructed differently. My wife said, you can't just do nothing. We have so many new people that are interested in tuning in on Sunday mornings that you can't just leave it a blank space. So we're not going to really do a typical day of church today. I thought I might uh, just kind of take a week and really just kind of talk about the church, Putnam County Community Church, and what we're doing here, and what we've done in the past, and where we're going. I know we're new. We're a newer church. We turned 2 years old in 2020, but we're still, I think, even fresher than that on a lot of people's minds. I think we didn't exist in a lot of people's worlds yet. A lot of people weren't aware of us and what we're trying to do. So I thought I'd just take just one Sunday, and we just kind of chat, and I kind of go over the history of Putnam County Community Church. So to kind of start it off, like how did we get here? Like how did this even start to happen? And to kind of answer that question, it probably really started for me close to 10 years ago. And I started going to a church after a time of, I grew up in a traditional church, and as far as my spiritual life, I just never really felt connected to that church. I walked away from it, kind of grew out away from it as I got older and dumber in my older teenage years, and that kind of time period of my life. But anyways, I kind of started going to my wife's old church, and the church where my father-in-law is pastor at, and that's Walnut Community Bible Church. And so at the time, when we first kind of moved back to the area as a couple, we lived in Princeton, so we drove about 20 minutes from Princeton to go to Walnut every Sunday, and I absolutely just loved that church. I love the heart of that church and the people there, and just the whole thing. The messages really spoke to me in a way that I just never quite understood before. I felt so welcomed, and I just experienced so much growth spiritually there, and that kind of I guess thought, and I would really describe it as a calling. Started That seed kind of started in my heart, man, what about what about home? Where I grew up in kind of the Granville Mark area in Putnam County. Is it where are people going to get spiritually fed this way? And the answer was, as this kind of like with a lot of things in Putnam County, you kind of had to take a drive if you were to find what I think a lot of us are seeking. And people were driving to Princeton or LaSalle, Peru area, or leaving the community to find the spiritual growth and just food and living water that they were seeking in their lives. And it kind of left me brokenhearted a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot. It really weighed heavily on me. And my heart and my just was really fixed on our community, and where are people going to find Jesus if all of our ministry, all of our discipleship and growth, and people that are actively seeking Jesus in their lives and are leaving the county to find a church like we're trying to build here. Um, so for a time, I continuously told myself, when I get a little more time on my hands, I'll tackle we'll get after it. We'll do this thing. Maybe one day when I retire and I don't have a full-time job and I'm not raising a family with three, well, at the time 2 kids, but now 3 kids, and just when I have more time, then I'll really start getting into this planting a church business. And obviously, that luckily that thought process didn't win out. That was me being selfish and lazy, honestly. I think how a lot of times how we respond to callings from God is that we put it off. we tell ourselves we'll do it some other time when it's more convenient to us. But really, if if you're not going to do it now, when are you ever going to? If you're not going to take a step of faith now, what you're really saying is you lack the faith to take that step. So, with my wife's help, she said, "Hey, you know what? Let's just rent this building, not this one here, but let's rent this building space downtown, and let's just open up and give people coffee and donuts, and we'll just have conversations with people, have a kind of open house type format, see if people are interested in doing this thing that we're wanting to do, that is laid upon your heart." My wife told me, like, let's at least just take a first step. And it was so incredibly intimidating, because when we take that step into the unknown, we want to have that whole like process of how this is going to work, how this is going to work out. Okay, we're going to take step A, then B, then C, and there's going to be this plan, and we're reaching for this goal. But it was so scary in my mind, because step A was a big one, but I didn't know anything in the middle. I thought, okay, I know what I want step A to be. I know that I want to start a church. And then I know like step Z or whatever, X, V, somewhere back on that back end of the alphabet. I know the church I would like to have in our community, that the church, that like a developed church. I know like that idea in my mind. I would like for that to be there, but I didn't know the process in between, how that would work out. And it was amazing to see how incredibly like faithful and how much God directed, and just like things just fell into place. And I honestly, it couldn't have been anything else but God, because I still to this day have no idea what I'm doing. So if you're wondering, a little bit more about me, no, I don't have any kind of formal training in preaching or being a pastor. I don't have any piece of paper that says I am so. But all I am is just a simple, regular old guy who is actively seeking God. It's my intentions, and I try every day to seek Him in His Word and through prayer, and all I'm trying to do is to share that with other people, to share the gospel message to other people. My idea of what church is supposed to be, I think, is a much more fundamental direction than it seems kind of the church overall has gone in the past hundreds of years, really. I think, you look at the Bible and what the church was like in the book of Acts, and you think of how simple it was, people just meeting in homes and breaking bread and sharing meals and being charitable towards one another and towards their communities. And a big part of our church is that I constantly want to preach that our church isn't a building, right? Our church isn't a structure or an organization or a non-for-profit, or it's none of those things. Our church is people, and our people are meant to actively participate in church. It's not just supposed to be something you show up on Sundays. It's supposed to be something that you are encouraged through this body, through Putnam County Community Church. You should be encouraged to open up your Bible and dig into God's Word for yourself throughout the week, that you are to actively seek a relationship with Him, not just on Sunday mornings, but every single week. And that just because I stand up and preach on a Sunday, I'm not the only one living a life of ministry, that every single one of us called to who have put our faith in Jesus, we are called to a life of ministry. We're to actively be participating in this thing that is called our faith. It's something we really try to push here. But I made a few slides of some of the pictures. You can find them on Facebook and whatnot, but just kind of take you through where we've gone. This is the building we first opened. It's that storefront right next to Cattywampus, and it used to be a flower shop and like a secondhand store. I can't remember what else. There was other things too, but that's the building we used, at least for our first probably year and a half or so. And as you can see, it was pretty tight, and actually towards the end of that life of that building, it was pretty full. We had the floor pop once. That was kind of scary. We weren't sure if we were going to cave in or or what, but that was the space we used for a while, and it served us really well. We did kids events the first Christmas. We opened I think in October, and so the first December we had a Christmas event. We showed a movie in there. We had a whole bunch of kids fill this space. It was super noisy, but it was also awesome. It was really fun. We also did an Easter event at first Easter where we had the kids paint rocks and things and give them a message on Easter. But it really did do its job for us in starting off. We also kind of had our women's and men's group in there, and we still do have our women's and men's group meeting in different formats now. But as you can see, it's a tight building. So earlier this year, as we kind of came into this COVID-19 pandemic time, you can obviously see social distancing in there was not going to be possible. So um, once that time period kind of hit, we went to live stream on YouTube for a while, and then when it warmed up, it was really nice because then we got to meet in Hopkins Park every Sunday. It didn't storm or rain. I think we really only got rained out like maybe twice all summer. And it was really wonderful, but it was still it was still kind of a bleak outlook because we had such a struggle for a while trying to find a new building and a new space, and obviously winter was coming and we weren't going to be able to meet out in the park all winter. So it was a little bit kind of just, I don't know, is depressing the right word? But just knowing eventually I'm just going to come to live streaming again only, and that's not what church is meant to be. And we were extremely blessed by the opportunity given to us by the Lutheran Church, and they so graciously approached us that they wanted us to have this building. They wanted to sell to us before they sold to anybody else. They saw what we were trying to do here and that we needed a space in a building. So in October we closed on this building here that we're at now, and we're in renovation right now, planning on opening hopefully soon. It's taken a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I know God's working it and using it all for His good. So, but our church and its history, we really have been trying to be really like outreach oriented, right? We don't want to just be consumers of Jesus, consumers of His Word and church and just constantly feeding ourselves. But it's a lot of it is exercising our faith, right? A lot of it we want to be an outreaching church and constantly seeking to show other people just the light of the world, right? The light of Jesus that comes through us. That we don't just talk the talk, right? We don't just say we love our neighbor and then don't do anything to help them out. We don't want to be that kind of people. Now we're all hypocrites, right? We're all kind of we all do things we say we won't do, but we really have tried to be an active church. We've done Hope Week. We've worked alongside Acts Church does this every summer, and we've actively participated in that 2 summers running now. We helped kind of spruce up Hopkins Park by painting the basketball court and the lines and the hoops and the swing set in Veterans Park in Granville. And then this year we restained the staircase on the concessions and painted the dugouts and refinished those. So, I mean, we're always looking for different ways we can get into the community. Not last summer, but the summer before, 2019, it was really cool. We joined up with the UCC Church and did a VBS, a Vacation Bible School, in the summer of 2019, and a lot of our ladies and people from our church really just injected a whole bunch of life into the VBS. They did all these amazing decorations and like props that they made. It was really cool, and just so much fun, I guess, just seeing all these kids have like this awesome time together. And we've been kind of nomadic, I guess you could say. We've been using different spaces for our 1 year anniversary. we actually rented out the Hennepin pool for 1 week, um, and that's our 1 year anniversary. We had a kind of a celebration. We had church in kind of that I don't know what you call it. I guess conference area, whatever you want to call it. We had church there, and then it was really neat on our 1 year anniversary. We had 4 baptisms. We actually went out to the pool and had 4 baptisms, and our children's church for that day were kids swimming, so that was fun as well. But we've kind of been a little bit of everywhere. Not this past Christmas of this year, but last year we had Christmas at we rented the Legion and we hosted it there because as you saw in our other building, things got tight in there really easy. So we we rented the Legion and had a really good time there. This Christmas, we obviously stayed outside and we had a little event outside, and that was a lot of fun as well. And I think a really cool opportunity. The girls did a really nice job with the backdrop and the setup. But that's kind of just a few of the things we've done, which kind of actually reminds me, if you have kids um, we have like these really cool bags still left over. If you want to give any of these away, there's like crafts and things and a whole bunch of stuff that kind of helps kids understand the message of Christmas and everything. We have like bags of these sitting here. If anybody wants or is interested in those, just let me know, and we can get you some of those to give to people. But moving forward, that's kind of where we've been. Moving forward, I just want to continue just building this church. I'm like at a loss for words. I think if people are wondering what this church really is about, we want this church to be a place where people can come as they are. We want people to feel welcomed, to feel like this is a safe place where you're not gonna be judged, you're not gonna be an outcast, you're not gonna be told you can't participate or that you can't come, and you don't have to look a certain way or dress a certain way. That we really do welcome you to come exactly as you are. If you're hurting and struggling and like just not in a good place right now, like this is the place for you. I don't know who said it, but the church isn't meant to be a hall of fame for the saints, right? That's not what this place is. What I love about our church is we have like real, ordinary people. We have ordinary people that are very real, right? We're not a group of people that put up a mask, that put up a front, and try to appear like we have it all figured out or that we are perfect in some way, right? We all are real people with real struggles, with real hurts, trying to go through this world together. And it's not supposed to be this hall of fame place for the saints. What we want church to be, we want it to be like a hospital for sinners, right? We want this church to be a sanctuary. We want it to be a place, like an oasis in the desert. We want it to be a place where you can come, and if you've never been to a church like ours, where maybe it will feel different, but it will feel like home at the same time. And yeah, maybe you're wondering like, well, I don't, you think I'm not a part of this church. I won't know what to do if I show up. If you've been watching our live streams, that's exactly what our church is. We sing worship songs. We pray together. We hear a message, and we sing some more worship. And that's it. We give you the lyrics, so even if you don't know the words, you can sing along. But we just want a church that is welcoming, that is open, that is loving, that is caring. And like I said from the beginning, in my heart, I just felt like, and it's no, and I don't mean a slight to the other churches in our community in any way, but I've just felt like there's been this gap in our community of an outreaching church, of a church that is fundamental to its core. To its core, there's no piles and piles of overriding law or governing bodies on top of it, of churches that I've it's in my heart of hearts has been a desperate need, um, that people wouldn't have to leave our area. Like, right, we have to leave our area to go to Target or Walmart, or go to McDonald's. If you want fast food, you have to leave our county for so many things. But I feel like I believe, not even that it's not my feelings, I believe in my heart of hearts, and you see in the Bible that what church is meant to be a body of believers in community, a body of believers that are neighbors and friends and family, and people that go to, the kids that go to school together. You can watch some of the best preachers in the world online. You can listen to their podcast. You have access to an infinite amount of preachers and churches, and I think it's good if you partake in that. If you find some preachers that really speak to you at your, like, in your heart, but that's not what church is meant to be solely, right? That's a part of it, but the biggest part of church is being in a community, in a body of believers that are actively participating, serving together, right? I have such a desire for this community, for this area, to have a church where people can actively serve together, actively grow and experience life together, and in a faith that is participatory, right? It's not all consuming, um, and not only that, I want this church to be a place where we are consistently seeking the lost, uh, where we are doing things in a new way, but really it's an old way, in a super simple manner, where we're stripping a lot of the ritual and religion that I don't really see in the Bible where that belongs, and bringing it back to this fundamental, basic level of faith, this fundamental way of church, where we gather, we pray, we sing, and we dig into God's word together. And that's like the core of what our meeting together is. But then it's not just Sunday morning. We have small groups, we have outreach opportunities, and it's been so challenging this year in COVID and outreaching, when we can't we can't outreach in large groups and be as active as we once were. But I know God's going to use it all for His good. It's been, if you're wondering, I guess the kind of the structure of our church as well, because everybody hates the money talk, like with church and money and how it functions in that kind of manner. Well, just to be completely open and honest with you about kind of our church's financials, we are a non-denominational church. So what that means is we have no oversight of a governing body or belong to an organization that really kind of that we have to pay or anything like that, or that supports us financially. We are self-sustaining, self-supporting. So what that means is that the way our church functions is that we have elected board members, and they are tasked with taking care of the church's business and financials. We also have a treasurer, and some system of checks and balances and whatnot. And if you're wondering, like, okay, he must have started this church because, like, it's like maybe Brian's trying to get like a second income or something. I don't get paid by the church. I won't let them. And so it's not about me for the money, because honestly, this church costs me more money than I'm making. Right, I give more than I would ever. I don't make anything. So nobody is an active employee or paid employee here, and so financially, how our church functions, like I said, the board makes our financial decisions for us as a whole board. And so for like this year, and like, oh, I shouldn't be talking about money just on Facebook Live or whatever. It's like I said, I'm just being open and honest with you. We've been extremely blessed in a year like we had, where a lot of people are struggling and hurting. It's almost insane to me that in a year like this we were able to. So we're spending about $20,000 on buying a church and actually kind of sprucing it up, right, revamping it, and we've done so many cost-effective things to kind of give it a facelift, I guess you could say. But not only that, during this year, we actually were just shy of donating or putting $5,000 back into different organizations and different avenues and different ways. We gave back $5,000, just shy of $5,000 this year, which is like just kind of blows my mind, honestly, thinking from where this started. In the first, remember Karina and I opened up that building the first like 2 months, and I'm just like looking after like day one, I was like, I don't know how long we can afford to keep doing this. Like, we have this very short window because we were kind of tight on money at that point, and not that we're, I guess, cash rich now, but it was like, man, I can't pay rent, utilities, supplies. Like Karina, I was like, we can't do this for very long. This thing's that needs to happen, or it's not. And the first Sunday, we had 10 people show up, and just to see where we are now, and I think that the encouraging thing looking forward for me, that I'm so excited about, is we were a little bit selfish this year in our spending. To be honest, $20,000 is a lot of money for a church to spend on itself, of our size. But moving forward and looking forward, man, like this, we bought this building. It's gonna be like we're gonna have everything done to it that we really want it to be done, except for maybe maintenance things that need to happen here or there, or if things break. But that $20,000 we put into the church this year. Next year we won't have that bill. We won't have to spend that money on ourselves. There's potential next year where that, like, we can give back that kind of money to the community. We can reach out with such an impact financially, and it's such a huge blessing just to even thought process of that, of the potential of the impact we can have on our neighbors, of the hurting, the sick and the poor, and there's just so much incredible opportunity moving forward. I'm excited for our future. I'm excited to see what the future holds for us in this building, and it's already looking great. It's going to look amazing. I know it will. But I'm glad you guys are along for the ride, and I've talked way longer than I intended to. I meant for this to be a short talk, but it wasn't, and I apologize for that. I mean, I guess you didn't have to stick around. If you wanted to leave, you probably left already. So, but just as we head into a new year and looking back at this past year, I just want to thank everybody that's ever participated in any kind of way with this church. Whether you were there with me that first scary Sunday, or if you maybe this is your first week checking in, you're like, what is this about? So this is not our typical church type thing. I didn't open my Bible, but this is meant to be a complete week off. But my wife told me I couldn't take a week off, so this is what I did instead. So I didn't prepare a message. Preparing a message takes some time, by the way. So it really is still a week off. All I did is basically chat for a half hour. So thank you guys for checking in. We will be back to our regular church streaming next Sunday, and that format will continue until the church is ready. So we will. I should have said this at the start in case people were probably more actively checking in. We are going to need some help cleaning the church before the carpet gets here. So I guess I'll reach out to you guys and see if anybody's available in the next week where we can get a good clean of the church. So, but thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. God bless.